Welcome to Creative Living with Lynn Lilly. Looks a little bit different these days. Just like everything else in our life, things are changing. There's a new normal. Well, last week was our last full tape show that we had. So we decided to do something fun. I have a ton of maker friends that live across the country that I absolutely love, but really haven't been able to have on the show because they don't live in Atlanta. Well, I thought we've got some free time. We don't have any more shows. So why not go home with my favorite makers? So for the next few weeks, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be going home with one of my favorite makers. And my very first interview is awesome because I love this girl. I fangirled over her and then I met her in person and was literally obsessed with her and we became friends. If you watched last season of NBC's Making It with Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman, you are sure to know and be a fan of Rebecca Probst. So she is amazingly talented, is a great interior designer. You guys, if you follow her on Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. So she is going to be my first interview and you're going to get to meet her in just a minute. I would love to know where you guys are watching from. So we may not be live, but I still want to chat with you in the comments. I'm watching along with you, so give me a shout. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you've got any questions that I don't cover with Rebecca, post those in the comments, and we'll make sure that she tries to answer them. All right, guys, let's go meet Rebecca. Rebecca, I'm so excited to chat with you.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome, and I know that our community is really excited to hear from you. I've been obsessed with you ever since I met you at Creativation and watched you on Making It. You're just so much fun. So we're going to kick off the interview. Before we get started and jump into kind of all the meat, I want to do like a 30-second icebreaker.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you two things. You tell me which one is you, and this is just a quick get to know you. Are you ready?
It's like speed dating.
It's like speed dating. Yes.
Okay.
Except for both married and have kids, but all right, let's do it.
Okay.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Okay. Paper or fabric?
Fabric.
Dogs or cats?
Cats?
Ooh, I would not have guessed that.
I have a cat. I have like a cat who's 16 and she like legit, nobody knows I have a cat. So it's out there, I have a cat.
You have a cat, okay. Sweet or salty?
Both. Sweet first, then salty.
Okay. Acrylic or watercolor paint?
Acrylic.
Okay. So or no so?
So.
Coffee or wine?
Coffee!
Heels or flat?
Do flip-flops count? So flat.
Flats, yes. Pen or pencil?
Pencil.
Text or call?
Call.
Comedy or romance?
Comedy for sure.
Lipstick or lip gloss?
Gloss.
Road trip or sky miles?
Road trip.
Road trip. All right. Super fun. I actually just feel like I learned so much about you in that quick. I would have never guessed you were a cat lady. Never would have guessed.
I mean, dogs are a lot of maintenance.
They are.
Yeah, so cute, but two of my kids are allergic to dogs.
Oh.
Even like hypoallergenic dogs they're allergic to. And I've always I was like that single hippie chick years ago that always had a cat. And so it kind of like followed me into my adult life. And my husband my husband's not a pet person at all, but I love my cat. She's cute.
What's your cat's name?
Bella.
Bella the cat. You got to show Bella on Instagram one day.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but on Making It, I made a pet house. And it was my Palm Springs paradise.
I do.
It was an ode to my cat who needed to retire.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. So we know a little bit about you, but I would love to know how you got started.
Well, I think I've been a maker my entire life. Like ever since I can remember picking up a marker. Like I fell in love with markers in preschool. And I remember this moment because it was hot pink. And I remember that I was so obsessed with the color on the paper. And I loved watching how the ink like laid on the paper. I mean, at 3 and 4, it's like a crazy memory, but it's a true one. And so I was always looking my entire life how to like repurpose things. And, you know, when Cabbage Patch Kids were the rage, I remember making my own food and like coloring paper in different ways and cutting it up and doing all crazy things or covering cardboard boxes in fabric to make furniture for my room and things like that. So it wasn't until my later life that I decided to go back to design school and find my love for interior design. But I think my entire life I've always been a creative.
I love it. I love the 3, 4-year-old story of the way the marker hits the paper. That's amazing.
I remember I think I stole the marker from preschool. I loved it so much, and I just wanted to hold on to that pink marker.
That's awesome. I hope your preschool teacher is not watching. All right, so now it is a career, and you get to do it for fun, you get to do it for work, but what are your absolute favorite types of projects to do?
I think when I can dream up something that I have the potential to build and see it come to fruition, I love things that involve design and building. And that's where I marry my love for DIY together. Like, granted, I love crafting, and that's for sure an outlet for me. But when I get to get my hands into a project and build and then stand back and see a completed project from dreaming to completion, like that's where I live.
I love that. So I know we have a lot of fans of NBC's Making It watching, and they have watched you and loved you. So I want to know, what is the one best thing about being on Making It?
The This is so cliche, but it was the people and meeting artists and makers from every area. And it wasn't just crafters and it wasn't just woodworkers. It was like a little taste of everything and how our worlds all came together. And in a normal situation, we probably would never have collided. So to be able to be working so closely and going through such crazy times with a tight group of people that offer so much creativity and so much talent, that was definitely like my highlight. And lifelong friends, like it's like an extended family for me.
I could definitely tell that as a viewer, like, especially in your season, you guys loved each other. Like, the love was there, which was so apparent. Like, you didn't want each other to lose.
We did not. And there was one episode where I remember, like, I think it was Simon, it was the shed episode, and he asked me, like, the next step is the finale. How do you feel about that? And it hit me at that moment that it was a competition, but it never had felt like that because I was rooting individually for everybody in so many different ways. So it was bittersweet. Wow, I've come so far, but I've seen so many people go at this point. So we did all love each other a lot.
I love that, which is great because you don't see that in other competition shows at all.
You don't. And even though, like, I believe we all had a competitive nature about us, I think a lot of that disappeared because we knew each other's stories and our backgrounds and how passionate each one of us were about what we were doing and why we were there. So, I mean, I cried every elimination, and I'm not a crier, but I was like, okay, bye. So,
Okay, so what is one thing that you would do differently? If you could go back and you were going to be on Making It again, what is one thing you would do differently?
I think, they say the one thing that was kind of like my decline is, I don't have any regrets. I think I got eliminated because I stayed in my lane, and I believe that's what my brand has become, is a recognizable aesthetic about Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think there's anything I would change. I don't have any regrets. I think, obviously you finish the process and then you go back through, and I don't know if there's anything I would change. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I feel like I lived in the moment and I was very present in the moment. And there's nothing I would change. I don't think I would try and go out of the box to be somebody that I'm not. I think I really stayed true to who I was, and I'm proud of that. And if that's what got me eliminated, so be it.
Okay, so we're both at home, and we've been at home for quite a few weeks. So, obviously creativity is a big outlet for us in general, but is there something you are doing creatively that's like helping you not lose your mind?
So I'm like ripping apart my house right now so that I can stay sane and stay inspired. I felt like when the quarantine first hit, I was sitting in my thoughts a lot and just kind of like, now what? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to treat this as like not any different than normal. So where's my list?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of sitting around and wasting the day away, woe is me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna start doing things. So I made a list. I'm like, what are these things that I can tackle? What are these things that are gonna have to wait? And so there were a few projects weighing on me that I've wanted to do for a long time. And I have to say, like, the slowdown for me has been amazing. Like 2019 was a blur and it was go, 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 go. And it was so high speed and fast paced. And with the show, it like consumed my entire year for a lot of reasons. And prior to getting on the show, we had just moved into our house. So we didn't have time to really like move into our home. So I feel like this time has given me like the time and the opportunity to move into my home and to tackle the spaces. So I ripped out a closet,
Mm-hmm.
I ripped out a set of cabinets, and I turned what was a very useless space for us into a very functional space for us moving forward. So I have 3 boys, and when they come home from school, their backpacks would get thrown in between the dining room and the kitchen, and it drove me crazy. And there was really no drop zone or holding zone for them to put their things. So I wanted, even though there was a closet there, it was underutilized and it was tall and skinny. And so I'm like, let's rip out the closet and create an area where they can hang their book bags and have bins to store, schoolwork and things like that. So it's been a big project, but it's been a really fun project because I've had to tackle things that I've never done before. So that's what I've pretty much taken a dive into. And then I made a bar area in my dining room, and that involved some skills that I've never done before. So I've really just tried to keep myself busy and challenge myself.
Which I like. I've been following all of your home DIYs and makeovers on Instagram, and they're amazing. That bar is awesome, by the
Thank
way.
you.
I showed it to my husband, and he was like, why can't you make something like that in our home?
That's why I'm showing you how to do it.
I know. It was.
I thought that, I kept it really simple. Like, I went to IKEA and I got cabinets and I got ones that fit enough and then added filler piece and then I customized it. So it didn't look like out of the box straight from IKEA. And then I gave it the Rebecca touch. And now it's an area in my house that that I can say that I manufactured from start to finish, and it's now like a pretty little nook.
I love that. All right. So you're obviously stuck inside with your kiddos. I know as a mom, that's real hard. You've got 3 of them. I've only got 1. So I can't even imagine. So what is something that you guys are doing as a family to keep the kids entertained, busy, and keep everyone kind of sane?
I think sometimes 1 is harder than 3 because you are the entertainment where these guys have each other to entertain. I think right now the most important thing for us is like keeping them on like somewhat of a schedule. Obviously, it's not like a typical schedule, but they know that they get up, they do their work, and typically they're done by like 11 a.m. And then we roll into like a structured day. Like we have lunch, and my husband's been doing PE sessions. So he does this whole little circuit training with them, which is really cute. And then today they picked an activity of baseball for their PE activity. But as I've been really enjoying going on bike rides and discovering like different neighborhoods and like maybe areas and nooks and crannies of where we live like we haven't seen before, but all accessible within a bike ride away. So we've gone through the drive-through at Dairy Queen on our bikes, but the bike rides have been the saving grace for us. We went out and got lights so we can do like evening rides and then our daytime rides. It's getting hot right now, so the daytime rides might get pushed to the evening, but it's really been the family bike rides that have been our, like saving us.
I like that. It's been raining here in Georgia, and my daughter does love to ride a bike. So we have resorted to bringing the little like tyke bike inside our home. So for the last week, there's been a tyke bike roaming through our living room and our kitchen and our dining room. So it doesn't stop raining here so we can get outdoors. But I love that.
The other thing, I mean, I've told people like on Instagram that this is a great time to teach like the older kiddos life skills, like how to make a piece of toast, how to fry an egg, how to start the dishwasher, washing machine, things like that. So it's, we're so busy normally, and I have 3 boys in 3 different sports. One of them is in 2 sports at 2 different schools. They're at 2 different schools. So there's just a lot of running around normally. And like, I end up doing a lot of those things for them, not because I want to enable them, but because we're just so busy. So this has been a really good slowdown because they've learned how to do things that normally maybe we didn't have the time to show them.
I agree. I think the slowdown has been good. Like, yes, it's hard economically and things like that, but it has kind of forced us to come together, right?
Yep. Yep.
and learn how to work together. My husband and I are learning how to work an office over from one another. He has become a cameraman for me during his lunch break.
Well, then there's like that back to basics type of mentality that I feel like has gotten lost for a long time. So, you know, aside from like the hardships, and I mean, my heart like breaks for everybody that has lost a job or, you know, is struggling during, you know, whether it's their mental health is just compromised, you know, all the things that have gone into this. I think there is light in it, and it's just a matter of how you find it and bring it to the surface. So
yeah, absolutely. And I was saying yesterday on Instagram, you got to find that light, dig deep for it, and then figure out how to keep it there, right?
yep, for sure.
Be reading a book, it may be crafting, it may be getting outdoors with your family, but figuring out that thing that kind of helps you keep it together and keeps you happy is important.
Sure.
All right, before we wrap up, can you give our viewers a sneak peek of something fun you're working on?
Well, okay, so now that the downstairs is like, let's just say buttoned up, I am moving upstairs into kids' spaces.
Ooh.
So I have a big loft right above me, is kind of like their hangout. And when we were in our last house, it was definitely like a playroom. And since then, we've weeded through a lot of the toys, and that transition is happening. So I'm coming up with a plan on how to fully utilize that space and make it work for ages 8 to almost 12. So we're just in that next phase. So I'm like trying to get real creative on how this space is going to look.
Cool. So remind our viewers where they can follow you so that they can find out all those details about that space and check out all the other cool projects you've worked on over the last few weeks.
Awesome. So my biggest source right now, or where you can find me most of the time, is on Instagram, and my handle's at Rebecca DIY. And if you want to check out other projects, you can find me on my blog at RebeccaPropst.com. And from there, that'll lead you to Pinterest and YouTube and all the other things. So
I love it. Rebecca, you're amazing. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I will definitely be following you. I'm excited to see that kids space. Thanks so much, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.